Are you ready to learn the difference between being paid hourly, salary-based, or project rates? In this video, I'm going to dive through the three kind of common types of pricing that you would typically get whether you are an actual employee or especially as a freelancer or a virtual assistant. Now, there's not really a one-size-fits-all answer to when it comes to pricing. I always say that when you are pricing yourself, you need to focus on the value that you're creating for your client. As an example, let's say that your client is a smaller business. The value that you are creating for them is freeing them up from their time. They're not anymore doing this. That's not their expertise. So the value that you're creating is you are giving a little bit of your experience and of course your time to be able to get things done. So depending on your client, depending on the kind of business or the industry that they're in, your actual pricing will depend. But if you're trying to figure out what rate basically to give them if they're asking you, these are three different types. Now, the first one is the hourly rate. You basically just get paid directly for the time that you spend. So let's say that you and your client say that you have a 40-hour week, then basically however many hours you actually work in that week is how much you'll get paid for. This is typically best if you are new to this role or this skill or this experience. You don't have a lot of experience on it at all, because at least part of your learning time or you figuring out how things work is covered by that. And a lot of time, if a task takes your employer like an hour to do, it might take you 3 hours to do just because you're really just learning how to do it yourself. You're finding out essentially what the systems or where everything else is. It also offers the flexibility for the employer of like, if they don't have a lot of tasks for you for this week, they don't feel that they have to have the pressure basically to fulfill the 40 hours. And essentially, of course, usually it means flexibility for yourself, where depending on the client, let's say you're not working a straight 8-hour shift, then you have the flexibility in the day to be able to just work whenever you need to. And also same thing, flexibility of if you do need to go overtime, there's not a lot of guilt or weirdness about it because you are going to be paid hourly. And speaking of, most employers, you can ask for an overtime pay. Now, this is usually only really mandated if your employer is in the same country as you, but typically if they are maybe in the US and you're from the Philippines, it might be harder to negotiate overtime pay, but again, you're still going to be paid for the hours that you work beyond those 40 hours anyway. Next is hourly rate. Really is best if you are just doing a little bit of part-time work. If you're just getting started, if you're just doing it on the side as your own little side hustle, then having an hourly based rate pay works a little bit better, again, for both you and the employer. However, two major cons with this is one is a little bit of inconsistent income, because a lot of the times you can't always predict how many hours a week you're going to work or how much work is going to be given to you. And second is there's a little bit of timekeeping admin. So you have to make sure that you invoice your client the right way. You have to make sure that if they're using a time tracker or you're using a time tracker, that they have visibility. So of course you get paid accurately. Next is the salary rate. Now, I recommend the salary rate. Let's say you've already been with this client for at least a year or even 2, is usually at that point when you can be paid salary rate. It's a flat fee every single month, whether you work 20 hours a week or 40 hours a week, depending on what the setup is with that client, is you basically will get paid the same way anyway. It's a little bit more predictable income. However, that means that if you do go overtime, it's not always going to be guaranteed that it'll be compensated. However, you're more productivity based. You're not anymore just based on the hours that you work. You're also now based on the output that you create, regardless of the hours that you work. So for example, that task that would take you 3 hours to do, you're now kind of the same as your boss, where it takes you an hour to be able to do. So it doesn't have to fill in the 40 hours a week that you're doing it. So it really depends on your expertise and where you're at as well, and how confident you are of selling yourself on a salary base. That is the other way that you can do it. Now, most agencies like ourselves at 2XU or other service-based companies will ask for a flat rate, because this will already hopefully also include any overhead expenses. So for example, in 2XU, we have our amazing managers and consultants. So they're covered in the salary rate that we ask from our clients. It's also the admin, it's also like HMO, it's also taxes, all of the things in between. It's also another benefit of just asking for salary rate, because at least all of the other expenses that you might have is already covered. And lastly, on the project rate, you basically have a start and end date depending on what it is the project that you're trying to create. You have a lot of flexibility also time-wise, because you're not just measured on the productivity, you're not measured on your hours, you're actually measured right away on what you give to the client, depending on what it is the timeline that you guys gave them. So as an example, for our AI and consulting agency, we basically charge on a project base where we create an AI agent or AI assistant depending on what the client needs. Once we give them the finished product, that's basically it. And we do have a retainer. If they need updates or if something breaks, we're able to go back. It's kind of one of the perks of doing project-based based is you can charge on retainer, meaning you're not working the same hours that you did at the start, but you're there just in case that they need anything. So for our clients, if they need like, hey, I need this adjusted on the AI agent, or hey, I need this adjusted on the custom GPT, we're able to create those changes for them right away because we're on retainer. We don't have to worry about billing them the hours because we have a little bit of kind of a good mix of a salary rate where they know every single month that they're going to be paying us 500 to 1,000 US, depending on how many agents we've created for them. It's basically then just an ongoing kind of a maintenance fee of making sure things are running. And typically when you're project based, you can charge higher because instead of, when you're hourly or you're salary based, where you're putting a lot of hours to learn the skill, to hone into it, since you're project based and you have a specific output that you're giving to them, you are basically consolidating or compressing years or months of experience into this one output that the client will get. So you can charge higher because you've already become an expert on this field. However, of course, since it is project based, it is inconsistent. You have to keep looking for clients every single time. You have to kind of keep chasing them, making sure that they get paid. So there's a little bit of that, like, am I gonna get food next month, depending on how you did go about setting up your project rate. Now, like I said, there's not really a right or wrong answer with this. It really depends on where you're at, what your services are, what the output that you're providing for the client. I highly suggest researching and finding people who are in your field and seeing how much they charge, or at least looking at companies that hire them and looking how much they charge, so then you can have a really good gauge on where you fit based on your experience and other skills that you're bringing in. Just because you don't have experience, as an example, as a virtual assistant, you might have skills that you are using as a marketer, as a salesperson, whatever it is, to adapt into that new role. Never discount that, of course. And to be honest, you can never really go wrong when it comes to pricing. Either you're targeting a lot of really high ticket clients, like they're making a lot of money, or if you're working with local companies, then you can charge basically depending on that economy as well. You have to keep that in mind, that you can't ask for a lot of pay just because everyone else is getting paid this way. It also comes with who it is that you're charging, who it is that you want to work for. That is why it's really important that you either find your niche or that you niche further to where you can charge to the rate that you want to be paid for. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there. Comment below if you have any questions on pricing or anything I can clarify for you. I would love to know. And if you still haven't, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.